I never thought I'd be the wife who'd fall back into the arms of her first love, only to discover he was her husband's brother. My name's Emma, and this is my confession, raw and unfiltered, a story of betrayal so sharp it sliced through my marriage and left me in ashes. If you're watching, you're already hooked, caught in a truth that feels like nostalgia until it's a chain around your soul. This isn't about love or redemption, it's about infidelity, the kind that blinds you and dares you to leap. Stay with me because this one's going to unravel you. It's a tale of family lust and a sin I couldn't bury. It was a warm October evening in Nashville, Tennessee, the air thick with bourbon and the hum of live music. I was 30, a music teacher married to Nathan, 33, a steady architect whose love was solid but predictable. We'd been married 3 years, settled in a cozy craftsman home when Nathan's estranged younger brother, Jake, 28, returned to town. Jake was my high school sweetheart, my first everything until we parted ways a decade ago. I hadn't known he was Nathan's brother, different last names, a family rift secrets kept from me. That night, Nathan invited Jake to our home for a family dinner, hoping to mend their bond. The dining room was lit by candles, the air heavy with rosemary from the roast I'd made. I wore a flowy dress, my hair loose, my nerves electric when Jake walked in. His dark hair was longer now, his green eyes still piercing his smile, a memory that hit like a storm. "Emma," he said, his voice low, his gaze locking on mine. Nathan didn't notice, but Jake's look was a spark reigniting something I'd buried. The dinner was tense, the bourbon scent mingling with old wounds. Jake's leg brushed mine under the table, a touch that set my nerves alight. I told myself to stay loyal, to focus on Nathan, but Jake's presence, his familiarity, it was too much. After Nathan went to bed, Jake lingered, helping me clear the dishes. The kitchen was dim, the air thick with rosemary and tension. He stepped closer, his hand grazing my arm, his gaze intense. "I never stopped thinking about you," he said, his tone daring, his breath warm. My wedding ring felt heavy, a reminder of Nathan, but my past with Jake was louder, a whisper I couldn't silence. I nodded, my silence a confession. His smile was slow, dangerous, like he'd seen my weakness. We moved to the back porch, the air thick with bourbon and the night shielding us. Jake's hand slid to my waist, his fingers warm through the dress, a spark that burned through my vows. "Tell me to stop," he whispered, his lips close, his breath hot with bourbon and memory. I didn't. My hands found his chest, the flannel soft, his pulse strong. The music from downtown hummed the porch quiet, and I was already lost. His kiss was a collision, fierce and reckless, tasting of bourbon and sin. My hand slid up his neck, pulling him closer, the porch railing cool behind me. The night pulsed, the air heavy as his lips trailed to my throat, his hands bold, each touch a pulse of pleasure and betrayal. I was drowning, and Jake was the tide pulling me into a sea of want. Nathan's face, our marriage faded, leaving only him, his heat, my hunger. His kiss was a wildfire burning through my loyalty to Nathan. Jake's hands were bold, tugging at my dress, his fingers grazing my skin through the fabric. The porch was a haze, the candlelight casting shadows that danced like secrets. My hands roamed his chest, the flannel slipping, revealing skin that burned under my touch. The bourbon air matched my racing heart, the air thick with rosemary and desire. His lips were everywhere, my jaw, my collarbone. Each kiss, a claim, each touch, a vow shattered. I pulled him toward the guest room, the door half closed, shielding us from the house. My dress was gone, discarded in the haze, revealing lace that made his breath catch. My hands slid lower, tracing his jeans, his gasps sharp in the quiet space. The guilt was there, cold and sharp, but my past with Jake fueled every touch, every move. His hands were on my thighs, sliding under the lace, his fingers leaving trails of fire. The guest room was our world, the house a distant hum. I pressed him against the bed, my body molding to his, the lace a tease I couldn't control. His lips found mine again, hungry, demanding tasting of bourbon and want. My hand slid under his shirt, his skin warm and taut, his breath hitching as my fingers explored. The candlelight glowed, painting us in gold and shadow, turning our sin into something almost beautiful. But it wasn't. It was raw, reckless, a collision of need and betrayal. Emma, he murmured my name, a spell pulling me deeper. My fingers tangled in his hair, my body arching into his, a demand he couldn't resist. The night was suffocating, the music relentless, as my hands gripped his shoulders, his jeans a barrier I wanted to tear away. The pleasure was building a storm of its own, raw and relentless, edged with the guilt of betraying Nathan. When it happened, it was a collision, a wave crashing over us. His groans were sharp, muffled by the walls, my hands holding him tight, our bodies moving as one. The pleasure was fierce, overwhelming, a betrayal that felt like reclaiming a lost piece of myself. The bed creaked, the night heavy with our heat, my sin unfolding. The house stood still, indifferent, as I crossed a line I couldn't uncross. It was everything, every ache, every want, every vow I'd buried. Afterward we stayed there, tangled, breathless, the air heavy with the scent of bourbon and us. Jake's hair fell across my shoulder, his fingers tracing my hip, his eyes half closed with satisfaction. The guilt crashed in a deluge, but his warmth held it at bay, a lie I wanted to believe. "This is us again," he said, his voice rough, unconvincing. I nodded, my heart torn, knowing my past had cost me my present. The Nashville autumn lingered, and so did the weight of my betrayal. I left the guest room, my dress back on, Jake's scent, bourbon and sin clinging to me. Nathan was asleep upstairs, oblivious, his trust a knife in my chest. I tried to be the wife he deserved, teaching my classes, cooking his favorite meals, but Jake's touch haunted me, his face in every shadow, every dream. The guilt was a beast clawing at me, but his fire burned brighter, a flame I couldn't douse. Our stolen moments continued, fleeting encounters in his car, a music studio, his loft downtown, each a spark, each fading fast, but leaving me craving more. One night I saw him at a family barbecue, his eyes catching mine across the yard. Nathan was grilling, unaware, his laughter warm. Jake approached, his voice low. "You're not done," he said, his hand grazing my arm, reigniting the spark. I told myself to stop, to fight for Nathan, but my body betrayed me. He texted later, midnight. My loft. I went the night thick with heat, his silhouette waiting in the dark. His loft was raw, the air heavy with ink and desire. His flannel discarded, his skin glowing in the neon light. His kiss was fiercer now, desperate hands tearing at my blouse. My hands roamed his body, greedy, memorizing every muscle, every shudder. The city's hum hid our sin, but the guilt was sharper, a blade I couldn't outrun. His lips found my throat, his hands sliding under my lace, his touch a brand I'd never erase. Nathan grew suspicious. "You're distant, Emma," he said, his eyes searching mine over coffee. I froze, his trust a contrast to my betrayal. "Just work stress." I lied, my voice tight, my mind flashing to Jake's loft, his hands on my skin. His frown deepened, and I feared he saw the truth. "I love you," he said, and the words were a weight crushing me. Then it happened. Nathan caught us his truck pulling up as I left Jake's loft. My blouse rumpled Jake's silhouette in the doorway. "Emma," he shouted, his face crumpling his pain, a mirror of my guilt. I froze, my sin unraveling, his trust shattered. "My brother," he whispered, tears in his eyes, and I couldn't answer. I told Jake it was over. He stood in his loft, his eyes blazing, his flannel open. "You can't walk away," he said, his voice a challenge. He left a guitar pick behind, his initials scratched into it, tucked into my purse. I should have thrown it away, but I kept it a secret that scorched. The Nashville heat lingered, and so did my shame, a fire I couldn't quench. Nathan confronted me. "How could you?" he asked, holding the pick, his voice trembling. I froze, my sin unraveling, his trust a mirror of my guilt. I confessed not all, but enough, admitting to Jake our past, my betrayal. He left his face broken, our marriage over. I was alone, the pick in my hand. Jake's scent a ghost I'd never escape. This is my story, a warning to anyone who thinks the past can't destroy the present. If you've watched this far, you know that betrayal, that ache for what you shouldn't take. So hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, call me a fool, a sinner, or just a wife who fell. Like the video, or don't, but share it with someone who's felt infidelity's sting. Check out my other stories, they're just as raw, just as real. Ever let an old flame burn your world down, spill your secrets below? I'm listening and I've been there.